Welcome to the Attack Action Podcast,
where we talk about friendship, fun times, and most importantly, flesh and blood. Here are your hosts, Taylor and Isaac.
Hello, Attactioneers. Welcome to the podcast. This is one of your hosts, Taylor Morrow. I'm here with my other hosts, Isaac and Colin. What's up, guys?
I'm one of the hosts, Isaac, and just settling back in after Worlds.
And I guess I'm a host too, and I'm here again.
You're a regular.
I know. I belong here.
You were also at Worlds with us.
I was also at Worlds, which is what we're going to talk about eventually.
So true. Yeah. So no surprise, Colin's here. If you listen to our last episode, you then know Colin will be here. And if you didn't, congratulations, Colin's here. So you're welcome.
You should go check that episode out. It was a lot of good information and a lot of me trying not to be a bummer and failing.
You were fine.
I was fine.
Yeah, you never bum me out, actually, just so you know.
Thank you. I'm a work in progress.
Who isn't, you know?
Fuck yeah.
Oh, man. There's so much to talk about. So let's skip all of our what's happening in our life and let's go right into the news. Isaac, what do you got for the news?
There was just a bans and restricted announcement in which nothing in CC changed, but there were several Blitz changes. Notably, Storm Striders was made legal again after its long hiatus in the banished zone. And instead, both Hypothermia and Aether Ice Vein are now banned in an effort to maybe target Icelander a bit more and not have Kano just be a casualty of Icelander's reign.
Icelander's reign of ice. Yep, that's totally true. No changes to Classic Constructed. I do think these changes to Blitz will make it, more interesting. I think the most notable thing is just how up and down the ban and restricted list is for Blitz nowadays. It's just like constantly changing, and who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean that's what they said. They were
just really quick before something I forgot is Aether Wildfire is banned instead of Storm Striders for Kano, so he still took a hit. Is like pretty important. All right, go on, Colin.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that's pretty in line with what they said Fab 2.0 was going to be for Blitz. Just a lot more tuning on a regular basis, which the format needs because it is unhinged. I've been playing a little bit of Blitz this week, and it's wild. It's not, I don't really know what to do. I try to play a game, and sometimes I get a game, and other times I just get killed in like one or two times. So, but yeah, glad the Storm Striders are back. Interesting that they removed them just in time to make, Kano just unviable in Blitz for Worlds, but didn't do anything to affect Icelander because she still did really well in Blitz at Worlds. So we'll see how that goes. I understand the banning of Aether Wildfire. It's probably one of those things that can make a turn one, OTK possible, even though it is a bummer for Kano. Our boy Kano, but, it's Blitz. It's not our main priority in our lives or this podcast, so we'll see.
Yeah, I actually really like this ban and restricted announcement and the aggressive banning they've been doing. Because like you said, I mean, Blitz is pretty broken oftentimes just because of the nature of the format. So I think an aggressive ban strategy has worked, right? Like it's slowed the format down. Most games have like multiple turns, and I think it works really well. I was a bit annoyed because I'm like, this is the announcement that should have happened a month ago, and I don't know what they were doing a month ago. And just I would have liked to play Kano at Worlds, even with a wildfire ban or whatever. I just enjoy the hero. So that was a little weird for me, but you know, at least we're getting there now. So great job.
Yeah, totally. It's still weird or hard or doesn't sit with me right. The weird tinkering with formats and stuff with the BNR for major events, right? Which is okay. It's maybe something I just need to get used to, but I just want it to be kind of in the players' hands a bit more. I think I've been pretty vocal about this on the podcast in the past, but you know, still, if it makes the makes the podcast, if it makes the game, you know, more fun to play for everybody, then I'm always all for it for sure.
Yeah, I think, I mean, if Dynasty had come out on time, I don't think they would have done anything really prior to Worlds.
Yeah.
But being that the meta had been kind of stagnant for a couple months, it seemed like, you know, I mean, it's their game. They're going to do what they want. And there hasn't been anything too unreasonable. I think, you know, for Blitz, they're just going to do this a lot more because it's, as I said, it's not a balanced format, so you have to adjust things constantly, and that's where we're at for there.
Yeah, I do agree with your sentiment, Taylor, like 100%. Just, you know, to echo what Colin said, is Blitz, right? So then you have like the Viserai format if you're not aggressively banning, you know?
Yeah, totally.
So it kind of sucks, but it's, I guess, the lesser of two evils, kind of.
Right. Totally. But so, yeah, that's it. That's the news for today. Thank you for joining us. On
Also,
to, sure.
I'm gonna one more thing.
Great. Love it when
What
we do it.
Dynasty came out today.
Oh, yeah.
Woo!
Woo!
Or several days ago, depending on when this comes out.
Well, for us, it's today. For everyone, it's sometime in the past, but I'm excited.
How have your polls been?
Not stellar yet, but I've only opened part of one box. So.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, you got a lot to go. One of my local LGSs who I pre-ordered from forgot, and now it'll be in next week. So that's fun for me.
Woo!
Sucks because it's a long weekend here in the States. So perfect weekend to get to open boxes at my leisure. But c'est la vie, as they say in some other places in the world.
Indeed. Sorry for ruining your transition. Proceed.
Yeah, in bringing up a sour point in my life. Thanks, Colin.
Nice. Crushing it.
Yeah.
This will be my last appearance on the show.
Okay, shout outs. Isaac, you got some shout outs here in the notes.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a trillion people from Worlds I would love to shout out, but there's too many. But I did want to shout out Carol and Kieran from Session Blood, who I met both of them separately briefly, but they're both awesome and very approachable and very like nice people and just like great to talk with and great to meet. And their podcast was the best and kind of a pillar of an example for the rest of us to follow getting into this game and into content creation. And I just assumed they always knew that, but maybe not. So just, reminding him.
The legacy. Yeah, I got to meet Kieran briefly at the Guild Hall on Sunday night for the after party, and a little feeling no pain drunkard Hayden Dale was like, bro, you got to give my boy a spoiler, and like made it awkward. And Kieran was like, yeah, I'll look into it. I was like, well, thank you, but actually just go watch our Everfest spoiler and it speaks for itself, And he was like, yeah, I'll look at it. I'll talk to somebody. I was like, man, thanks for your podcast. And then he's just like, okay, Hayden, let's go get another drink. Come on, one more. And then that's how that interaction ended.
Nice.
Yeah. But so my shout out goes to this rad restaurant by our Airbnb 5-spot drive-in diner. They just had like the world's best tacos, or maybe San Jose's best tacos. I don't know. It was freaking so good. We went there twice, and Colin went there thrice.
I went there 3 times. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just so good. They just like, their waiter told us, he's like, yeah, we got this taco guy and he's here these like days or whatever. And it was freaking hella good and affordable, which was super great. So if you're in San Jose ever again, go to the 5-spot, 10-minute walk from the convention center. Super good.
Absolutely. It was great. I went there for lunch when nobody was at our Airbnb yet, and then proceeded to have dinner there both nights afterwards. So it was a good time. Great micheladas if you like a good.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. And the margaritas.
Yeah. I did not try the margaritas, but the you and the New Zealanders enjoyed them immensely. I saw, so
hell yeah,
that was great. Yeah, great spot, good times. Hell yeah.
Do you have any shout outs, Colin?
Man, I just want to shout out to all the people who I didn't introduce myself to because I was feeling awkward. I wish I had done it, and I'll catch you at the next one. That and the artist for being really cool and patient with everybody signing everything. I got a bunch of stuff signed, and just had a great time. We'll talk about that more, but
totally. My last shout out off the cuff here is just shout out to the Battle Bro Airbnb. Just all the bros were super great, and we all got along, and it was just so fun. It was just so great, like getting to spend some more time with Zane and Colin in person, and it's just so awesome. So thank you all for making that a great experience in the crib.
It was great.
Yeah, thank you for booking it.
Oh, no I had this whole plan of like having no beers and going to bed early before the first day of Worlds, but then we're in the Battle Bro Airbnb and we're having beers and drafting.
Yeah.
Like, what am I supposed to just go to bed? Fuck no. So we did that instead, which was well worth it. I'm not complaining or,
totally get some uprising practice in.
Really great experience. So that was great. I also think I might have done the thing where I like talked to somebody and then didn't introduce people I was with or whatever. So sorry if I did that to either of you, or I'm just socially unpracticed. So I think I probably forgot to do that several times, but it's like a lot of people mingling and going on. Sometimes it's hard to get everything connected, but anyway,
it's all good, bro. One final announcement here before we move into the main topic. So Taylor Morrow, will be doing a separate podcast on December 21st at 8 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. I don't know, whatever time zone we're in now. Whatever. West Coast America time. On December 21st with Mr. Tommy Fresh. It's called Insidious Chill. And it is a one-off or once a year. It's our annual podcast we're starting for holiday times. We're going to watch a holiday movie. We're going to make a meal that is relevant to the movie. and we're going to bake cookies, and we're going to have Christmas or holiday cards to send out to all of our Patreons for the Fresh and Buds and the Attack Action Podcast patrons. So it's going to be live, and we're just doing it this one time this year, and then next year you can check out Insidious Chill next year. So we're going to be watching Anna and the Apocalypse. So if you want to follow along at home, apparently that is a holiday movie, but it also has zombies in it. So neither me or Mr. Thomas Fresh have seen it, so that seemed kind of pertinent. So, oh yeah, and there's going to be like a song or album associated with it. We haven't settled on anything solidly yet for it, but I think we're leaning towards the Korn put out a Christmas song once. So that might be the jam. Also, Mike Popovich, IP5 Cocktails, you got to make us a cocktail for this show. So you heard it here first.
Nice.
So
This
join
sounds
us.
delightful.
Yeah.
Wait.
We're not going to talk fab. We're just talking holiday films, food, music, and booze.
Nice. I'm not sure how many questions. Is this, you gave a very specific time. Is this a live stream? Are you streaming the two of you on video while you're watching the movie?
Oh, that's a great question. No, we will have pre-watched the film, and then we will be giving our review and thoughts and opinions on the film.
So that will be live, the after the film.
Correct. Yeah. That would be
Shindig.
funny though if we all just sat down and watched a movie together, did a watch party. I feel like that's probably illegal.
No, you don't have the
You know,
movie
I don't
on the screen.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Just
yeah.
your
That's
face
smart.
as
Just
you
my
go,
face.
you know, and like
Zombies
your
at
popcorn or
Christmas.
something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who knew?
So yeah. Any other questions?
Nope. I think that's it.
Perfect. Thank you all. That's the end of my announcement. On to the main topic.
All right. Well, I'm still thinking about Zombie Christmas podcast, but for Worlds this year, Flesh and Blood chose San Jose to host it, which was very, fortuitous for the three of us. So that's in our backyard, and we were all able to go and attend. It was a great event. There were like 350 something players in the Worlds event. There were like 600 something players in the Calling that happened the next day. There were over 30 countries represented. There were like all the best players in the world, or, no offense if you didn't go, almost all the best players in the world, almost everybody I played was like somebody famous, which is kind of cool. And,
Including yourself. You're famous.
yep. Not washed up at all.
No.
Still doing it. I'm out of PTIs though. But anyway, so just a couple little prefaces for the World CC meta. We saw Fi, Oldhim, Briar, and Icelander as the top four most represented decks in that order. And then for Blitz, I'm not sure, but Prism, Icelander, and Oldhim were the most represented at the top tables in the Blitz meta for Worlds. Prism specifically there to prey on Oldhims and Icelanders.
Yeah.
And
I think
there were. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I think Icelander was like more than 50% of the field in Blitz. I think it made up like a huge chunk of what everybody was playing.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. And
it also
Prism
has a
was
good
like
matchup into Oldhim. So
yeah, it totally does. There's like, I think maybe a bit more old hymns than expected from my end. But yeah, Icelander was the deck to beat, and Prism was like a really good call.
Yeah, for sure. And just last little, so there were a ton of side events, cosplayers, artists available to sign things. You know, James White had his own area where you stood in line and got a signed mat and got to, talk to him, which big shout out to James White, because he does not have to like be there or do that. He could fucking make a dev do that or have nobody do it. But he like stands for 8 hours a day and signs mats and talks to people for, several minutes a person.
Yeah.
And does that day in and day out instead of like watching the event or orchestrating things or, so I'm sure he enjoys meeting everybody, but it's also very exhausting. So big shout out to him for just being that kind of person that's like, I mean, that might kind of suck, but no, I'm definitely doing it, and he's done it at the pro tours. And, it's just very endearing to see him doing that over there.
For like hours too, like just hours and hours. Like I think Zane waited in line for like 3+ hours, and he was like one of the last people to get to meet him and get a mat. Like he had a limited regicide playmat that they're not giving out anywhere else. They said he was signing them. People were getting other stuff signed. He was taking pictures with people. He was chatting with them. It wasn't just like a, meet and greet where you sign and move on. Like he was actually like talking to people, which is really cool. And as you said, he's by all means not required to do that or, expected really, but everyone is super stoked and appreciate that. I regret not getting in that giant line and doing that, but
I hate lines.
Put it on the list. Yeah, that was a rough one for sure.
I did not want to be in that line. It is my regret though. Like I had a few opportunities as I just kind of passed by James White when he just kind of wasn't doing anything to just say, hello, James. Thank you for this wonderful game, and I didn't take it because I was too nervous, which I feel like is understandable. But I did not want to wait in that line. So I wish I had just shot my shot earlier in the event. So then, it would have been over. But I also am hoping that there will be more opportunities, for me to get to meet him and work up the courage. But I'm not waiting in line for 4 hours, even though I love his game and, he seems like a cool dude. Like, not worth it.
Well, there'll be a day when we're world champions and chief devs, just tell them then.
In that order.
Yeah.
The first triple world champions. We all won the same event somehow.
Great. At the same time.
I had a really funny, really awkward interaction with James White where we're at the dinner beforehand and there's like this giant line to get to pizza and Colin and I are in it, but the back half of the line like leads up to James White and then there's a big gap before James White. Like they're all giving him space, right? So like I thought that was people waiting in line to talk to him, right? And he has this moment where he turns around, chats with Pablo Pintor or whatever is right next to me. So I was like, oh, cool. And I like hand him a couple of the tokens we made. But I didn't really say anything because I didn't want to like grab him and chit chat and like annoy, like there was this huge line behind him. And I was like trying to just like, meet him, get some exposure, but like not like rudely step in front of the line. But it turns out that line was just like also for pizza. And I think I was just like handed him some stuff and didn't say anything and like turned away, so it's great first impression. Hopefully we're like really on the map now.
Yeah, it was very funny. I think Isaac and I realized when we got to the players banquet that we were the two least social people
of our group.
And was like, oh God, we got to be the ones who do this. And Isaac did great. He was introducing himself to people. We talked to Carol, we talked to Matt Rogers, so we got a couple promos out there in some cool people's hands, and I was awkward and standing next to Isaac. But that was great. We didn't mean to cut that line for sure. But then the people who came in behind us didn't seem to mind either. They were like, "Oh, you made a promo? I made a promo." And there was this artist, I think her name was Kate. She made these awesome Ash and Ashwing tokens of her own that she had drawn, and we like traded promos in line. And I was like, "Oh, this is fun!" Like, there's a lot of those moments throughout the weekend that were great.
Fun story about her. Wasn't she in line with me and you, Colin, to both Federico Musetti and Sam Yang, like just right in front of us?
It was I wasn't in line for Sam Yang, but
okay.
That's cool. If your friends are interchangeable, just social boosters for you.
It's because we're like the same height. It's just very easy to confuse us.
Well, your California accents are just unintelligible, like indistinguishable. So I like get you mixed up all the time.
Yeah, she was in line with us for Federico, and he had her sign one of her tokens that she gave to him. And then you gave him one of our tokens, and he had you sign it. And I was standing there like, well, I also helped with this, but this is weird, and I'm just going to be quiet over here, which was the MO for me on the weekend, was just to be awkwardly quiet next to you guys.
Yeah, I told him, like, I didn't do the art, He was like, that didn't matter. I was like, okay, here we go. So
he was very nice.
Signed it. Yeah. Before I think we get into just like all of the positives, which is there are, for me, an overwhelming number of them. I did want to start with a few downers firsties. So like probably every podcast has said, the venue sucked big time. Like, we were in this permanent tent that was like a half dome, long ass tent, and it just felt unfriendly and cavernous, and like I had expected, like, because we had been to the Vegas calling, right? And we were like, I remember thinking then, like, wow, first calling in like the West or United States or whatever, and kind of sparse in here in terms of like pomp and circumstance and festive stuff. And then it was like worse at Worlds. Like, there was absolutely nothing on the walls. Everything was, because it was a super long hall, everything was like super spaced apart. And the bathroom situation was like really unideal. Like, there was a trailer porta potty and then another like non-permanent structure like outside, which was okay. Like, it's whatever, public restrooms. But just like the optics of the whole venue and where it was like vastly subpar. And I would have expected it to be a much cooler space and have more decorations up, and for it to be an actual like culminating event and a monumental moment in the game, to have the World's tournament, and for it to not like visually reflect that was a bit of a bummer for me. But the silver lining was, because of the shape or how the speaker sound system was in there, it was like actually easy to hear the judges talking. And that was like the first time that has ever happened in a bigger event that I've gone to. So that was really great to be able to hear them like, round 4 pairings are up, instead of it just being like rah, 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 and you're like, I don't know, that could have been a warning, everybody get down, or so, and we just can't tell. So that was kind of the bonus there. Comments about that?
Yeah, I think you kind of wrapped it up. It looked drab. It felt drab. The lighting was like, I didn't notice it inside, but you'd go outside and be like, holy crap, it is so dark in there. And, you're trying to like look at people's cards, and just be there. And it just like, going outside was refreshing, because it was like, oh, there's, it's bright, and like, it's just so dark in there. So it was just very weird. When we first heard that it was like in a tent, we were like, no. And they're like, there's no bathrooms in there either. We're like, no. And we're just like, oh yeah, okay, there's a porta potty outside, and it is in a tent. It looked like a bad circus tent, and it was like uneven flooring. It was just like hard concrete floor out. Basically felt like we were just kind of outside. It was pretty cold the first day, and then it would get too warm when there was like over 1,000
And
people in there.
it's humid.
Yeah.
Yeah, really
And
humid.
it was just like classic Channel Fireball being cheap on their events and just not caring at all. Like, I'll just say that they don't really care.
Yeah, this tent's cheaper than the building.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, this is fine. We can save some money. You're like, you charge people like $350 to get your crappy package that gets 2 side events that are one, what is it? It's a single elimination drafts, and just you're like, dude, I could have just bought my own box and like had more fun.
And which we did do.
Yeah, and that was fun. But yeah, the venue was just very disappointing. We heard rumors that some of LSS was not stoked on it, so I hope either they put a big fire under Channel Fireball's butt, or they just find someone else to partner with, because they don't seem like a very good partner. They just don't seem to really care about the game. They're just there to make a bunch of money, and that's fine as a big corporation, but I think LSS has shown that that's part of their values, so they need to hopefully find a partner that will reflect that as well.
Yeah. To kind of piggyback off of that, the side event structure, because last time we went to a calling, I just played in the main event the whole time and didn't have time for side events, or that wasn't my plan, but the side events totally lackluster, and I don't get the whole ticket system. And I know people are saying like, well, Magic back in the day, blah, blah, blah stuff. It's like, no, it should be better. It's like the world. I know it's the world championship about worlds, in that tournament. And I'm sure that was fun and cool to be in, but there's like hundreds of people here not in worlds also. And like, why is it just was so boring. Like Blitz, Classic Constructed, one game elimination draft, like they only had one like team sealed event, like let's do more team events or what, it just could have been programmed in a way that it was way more fun, and which was fine because we just like made our own fun instead. But you're there to do stuff. And, I would have liked it if that service was a bit more, or was just actually provided. So, okay. Isaac?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think the single elimination draft, I was like, that's a fucking scam when I first heard about that. And it is. It's ridiculous. It's just so then you have to go fire another draft sooner for another $20 or whatever, instead of being able to play your 3 rounds. I mean, they could still make plenty of side event money, playing 3 rounds instead of 1. So, I mean, I don't mind the ticket thing. It's like you get to play in a little tournament and, win or lose, and you get tickets for prizes. I get that whole thing, but just the tickets don't go very far. And then the single elimination is just like, to me, the last straw kind of there. I will say, like, out of the events that I've been to, which I guess is just like Vegas and Orlando and, the So Calling also, which was a nicer venue.
Hell yeah. Shout out to Pasadena.
I thought the decor inside the tent was like actually like pretty festive and quite nice. There's like a lot of cosplayers, and there were many more booths than like at Nationals, for example, or anything. So like all the artist booths and all the like merchants and stuff, I thought that was all like pretty festive and like pretty cool, at least just compared to other things I've seen. Also in the tent, I mean, it was clean and it was an adequate space. You did have enough room to play and stuff, but it wasn't like gross or that weird, but I guess that's kind of where my clarification stops. After that, I agree with you guys. Like the lighting was dim. The bathrooms were like as close as bathrooms in another event, but the fact that there were not really enough of them, or, just like getting into them was, a little bit rushed or a little weird in between rounds and stuff. And it's just like, yeah, if I was LSS, I would be upset at Channel Fireball. But we do know the other shout out I was going to do was Justin, because I saw Justin there a few times and had a great time talking to him. Really nice guy. And he's really on it and very capable putting on events. So hopefully future West Coast events will go to Arcane Games and Events, not Channel Fireball. And we'll be in an actual room, and
yeah, like
have a toilet, and things like that. Some lights.
like Discs and Dice Pro Quest last March was like way cooler than Worlds was, you know what I mean? But my gosh, how do I phrase this? What made it the Worlds tournament was the people, right? Like the cosplay was good and that was fun to see them walking around. Like, great job, everybody. I don't know how you pick a winner out of all of those. And then how friendly and nice every person was who I played against and met and stuff. Like, that was what made a dingy tent outside feel like fun and exciting to be in for like 10 hours every day, or or whatever, so again, like, big shout out to like the Flesh and Blood community. They, y'all are doing a great job. Freaking keep it up,
Yeah, totally. The people are what make this game great, and I think we've proven that time and time again at the many events that we've been, or not many, but all the events we've been able to go to. It's wild to go here and be like, I recognize so many people, and I don't know them, but I recognize them. I've seen them at other events. I recognize them from YouTube. It's just like, it was very cool because it is still a small game. It's not the biggest community. And so just being in that space where it seemed like the vast majority of people who've been very involved in this game over the past couple of years was in attendance, and that was very cool. And I think we all felt that, and we dealt with it. It was they dropped the ball, and I don't think we need to say anything more about them, other than the whole artist situation where they decided to sell all the artist playmats, which actually were supposed to go to the artist so that they could sell and sign them. Channel Fireball just decided to sell those all directly. Was just another example of them just like not super caring and just trying to get a bunch of money. I think eventually they did get some to the artist, but the artist part was cool. And I feel like that's a good kind of like transition into like some like fun stuff, because the artist alley was just a lot of fun. I have not been someone who wants to get things signed before. And this game, like, it's making me a competitive person who likes to get shit signed. It's just like bringing out a lot of stuff for me, which is funny. But I got so much stuff signed. I got a bunch of stuff signed by Federico. I got one of his Marvel artist proofs for Tummy Tai, which is my favorite dragon.
Tomo Tai.
Which was dope, and he just signed a bunch of my cards. Because going through this, shout out to Nate who put together a spreadsheet with all the artists and the cards they've done. It was just real easy to look through and do that. Also, Spell Void and Fabrary have pretty good search engines. You can search by artist as well, which is really nice. So it was just collecting all my cards. I was like, all right, Wisnu's going to be there. I was like, fuck it. I'm getting my cold foil Reinar and my cold foil Romping Club signed. Like,
hell yeah.
I'm not selling these. Like, these are just going to be for me. And so it was cool to meet Federico, Wisnu, Livia, who did Prism and Luminaris. I got a little sketch done by her, which was really cool. Like on a little blank equipment card. I bought a library print. Like, I just went all out. Like,
you did. It was awesome.
I would every day I'd just come back to the Airbnb and lay out more shit on the counter that I had like bought and gotten signed, and it was a lot of fun. So that part was really great. I did miss out on Sam Yang. And I'm sad about that just because his signature just looked dope on everybody's cards.
Yeah.
But I missed like the first window, and then every time after that, his line was just super long. So didn't get to do that. But yeah, I do think I was kind of hoping there'd be a little bit more vendors, but I guess at that, I mean, there's only so many people who can sell like singles, and stuff. It was cool to have Magnolia there selling the metal fab tokens. They had a bunch of custom, stuff there. So all of that was super, super fun.
Yeah. I had a blast meeting Federico and like bonding over that we're both left-handed and really handsome and good at stuff. That's basically what we talked about. And I got a bunch of stuff signed by him, like cold foil helm of the Sharp Eye, which I now have to figure out what deck that goes in, and got my invert existences, which were like my favorite art for quite a long time, and got my promo Ice Eternal signed with my Ice Eternal mat. And then the Sam Yang got some Ice Bolt signed. So the Icelander deck is looking pretty pimp these days. And I'm going to do a video, I think pretty soon, of my like cool Icelander swag I've been collecting since I guess Everfest, right? She was in Everfest. Yeah. So since she came out there. So I think the only thing I'm missing is there is a rainbow foil adult promo of Icelander, I think, of the new art from Uprising, and I'm missing the cold foil Road to Nats Icelander. So if you got one of those, let's do a trade. Hit me up.
And those Channel Lake Frigids.
Well, yeah, I need the alt art Channel Lake Frigids, but they're not like Icelanders cards. You know what I mean?
It's true.
Yeah.
They're just the coolest alt art ever made.
They totally are. 100%. Hands down. Easy. So, yeah, artists, great. That was super fun. Oh, yeah, Sam Yang, what a sweetie. He just like took his time signing my 2 cards and like, was really nice about talking to me and making a moment. So that was great. I really appreciate that, because I didn't want to treat them as like, and Sam Yang's was like free too, which was also cool. And I didn't want to just be like, here, sign this stuff. Thank you. Goodbye. Like I wanted to talk to them and tell them that like, this art you do is art I enjoy, and it's partly because it's in the game, but also because it's just like hella dope. And I'm not one to buy art, but I have now kind of a lot of Flesh and Blood art, which is cool, I think, for me. So thank you.
Did we want to go into our playing, or is there any other like memorable things we wanted to talk about?
I mean, there's just like so many stories, right? Like we wound up having like a really cool, like unplanned thing where we just did a different draft. We drafted a different set of Flesh and Blood every single night we were at Worlds, which was like super fun, and it's now a tradition, and I would like to keep that going. Like the first night we did Uprising, the second night we did Monarch first, pulled Valiant Dynamo, which was very exciting, and then the third night we were there, we did Arcane Rising, so that was really awesome. Did I 3-0 the first 2? Did I 3-0 the Uprising and I definitely did the Monarch draft. I had a pretty good chain deck.
I don't remember. I just remember I had 4 cracked baubles in my Prism deck, and I still managed to win a couple games there. And it was just like, I think at the end of that last one, it was against Mitch or Levi. I think it was
I forget. Oh my
I think it was
God.
Levi. We look at my deck. It's literally like 4 cracked baubles with like 1 card left, and I managed to win. I was just like, hell yeah.
Yeah, you guys like went to fatigue, like went super long, and he lost because he didn't have any cards that blocked, and that was like really funny. And then you just like unceremoniously flipped the 4 cards left in your deck, and they were all cracked baubles. And we just all fell out of our chairs like laughing. It was just so funny.
Yep. Last attack in the deck. Got him.
Yeah. Perfect pitch stack.
Yeah, that was fun. That was
It was great. All I remember, I got like really tilted playing against you on chain, Taylor.
Yeah.
Because it was just like I could literally not do anything all game as you just did 20 damage turns over and over. And I was like, yep, this is why I hate this hero. And it just brought back so many like, bad memories of like, well, chain gets a 12 card hit, and how am I supposed to win this on a different hero? It was just like,
totally.
I was pretty unhappy about that. But the rest of all those draft experiences were very good.
I've definitely drafted a better chain deck than that one. It was like missing ways to attack more, I just kind of rolled you a little bit in our game where I happened to get off a turn. I baited you with some arcane damage and then blasted you with some rip through reality situation. So that was like helpful. But yeah, it was great. You got total revenge, and I went 1-2 in our Arcane Rising draft as like I also was Azalea right next to you upstream, and my Azalea deck was like just not as good. So
that's true. I got first pick every time.
Yeah, totally. It was like fine, but okay. So also in that draft, Patrick, pack 1, pick 1, induction chamber, pack 3, pick 1, induction chamber, and then turn 0 against me, played his second induction chamber, and I just died a very slow, sad death round 1 of that tournament, and it freaking sucked. Awesome for him. I think that was the only game he won, which was also a like slap in my face even more.
I just like, I knew he had 2 and I knew what he was trying to do. So I went pretty aggressive on the blind Azaleaing. I mean, I had more arrows in my deck than non-arrows, right? So it's a pretty good shot. But instead of just threatening something, I would dominate threaten something. And, more turns than not, it worked out. So I killed him before he could kill me with that flipping pistol.
It's like your worst nightmare in Arcane Limited is the induction chamber coming out.
Yeah, right. And then there's 2 in the same deck. It's such horse shit.
That's so wild.
So what we did on Sunday, none of us played in the battle hardened. We were like done with competitive play. We were just like, well, if we can pool all of our tickets and get a box or something like that. And we are like, oh no, you can use some tickets or whatever and like draft. And then there'll be 4 of us in that draft, and then we'll all pool our tickets from that and then get a box and get to draft again. So we're just finagling it that way. So we played in a uprising draft later in the day, and then we got a box of Arcane and took it to the guild house, the tavern afterwards, and recruited some friendlies and just had a eight person draft in there that was a blast. I had a pretty killer deck, but I pitch stacked a red headshot to kill my Viserai opponent who was at 1, and then at the end of the game. And I had like enough cards in my hand, like totally would have pulled it off, but I was pretty drunk and I like missed my pitch stack by totally. It was like 2 cards. It wasn't even that close, and was like, what?
I was also a little too drunk and messed up my salvage shot loop as well to beat my opponent, and was like, God damn it, this sucks.
Yep.
I missed out on the Arcane. I started to not feel great on Sunday, so I stayed home most of the day. I did show up. I was starting to feel a little bit better. I tested negative for COVID, so that was like first good step, and then showed up to do the on-demand draft, and then we won that box, and then I went back home after dinner thinking you guys would be back to draft later, and then I missed the Discord message, and I was pretty bummed, but it's totally fine. I felt really great about our on-demand uprising draft because I feel like it was one of the first times where I was like, I am drafting my seat. Like,
yeah,
Icelander is wait, was it Icelander? Yeah, Icelander
Yeah.
is open. I was like,
Nice.
there's not a lot. I was like counting the cards. I was like, there's like missing Phi cards. There's missing Dromai cards. Here is a blue like Ether Hail or something. And I was like, great, I'm going to do this. And I just started drafting like a really good Icelander deck, pack 1. And then pack 2, homie next to me is just cutting me off because he's also an Icelander. And I was just like, dude, like, I was taking all the blue cards. Like, you should have been a sign that you didn't have what it takes to go into Icelander. But
Welcome to Uprising Draft.
I know. But
you
know, jokes
great,
on
though.
him. Pack 3, I just cut him off and took all the good cards. So
Hell
I had a
yeah.
pretty good deck. Ended up losing against this guy from Thailand. I think he said his name was. He told me his name was like Whisper. You know, that's like probably his either internet name or English name. But he was so funny. He was playing Phi, and he didn't write down our scores, but he like knew our scores. He would be like, "Oh, it's this, right?" And I would be like, I would check my notes, be like, "Yeah." And then whenever I take damage, he'd go, "Yeah." Because he's just like hit me, take damage. Yeah. Just like, oh man, this is really funny. And then he smoked me because I took too much damage one turn, and then we played again because the game was so fast. And that one was closer, but he still got me. But he was just like, Phi is fun. He just attacks, and I was like, dude, I like this guy. He's fun to play with. So that was a lot of fun. Then I played Mitch, who because we were 1 and out, so we were just like, well, let's play while Isaac and Levi just fucking slam this on demand draft pod and win the whole thing so we could take all the tickets. So that was a lot of fun. I felt good about I was like, I am looking at signals. I am trying to send
Hell
signals. I was like, this is good. And then somebody else just messed it up for me.
It's just how it goes.
Yeah.
You know, you should go to our local armory where you're just like, okay, so no matter what I do, doesn't matter for 50% of the people here. How do I navigate this?
I'm always in Blake's pod, and Blake is just like, are you really passing me? Like the whole time he's just like commentating on what's going on. And there's like another table of like serious quiet people. And it's like, we have a lot of fun drafting, but I feel like I always end up drafting a weird deck because I'm like, what is he talking about? I don't feel like I understand what he's talking about. And it's just like, getting in my own head about it. But I think a lot of it is just like understanding the pack distribution, which is something I haven't paid enough attention to in the past. And then for Monarch, it was like, these packs are weird.
It was wild.
Like,
they hadn't ironed out the pack distribution yet. Because it's too weird.
It's up and down. You're like, oh crap, the hero I thought was open is just is not open. And it's just like, because the pack just had no cards for you, so it's hard to send signals, or read signals or whatever.
Which is why I pivoted into Levia, and then Isaac was like, what is going on? And I was like, fuck, I don't know. And then I went back to Prism and was just like, I'm sorry. And then I had 4 crack bubbles, so it was great.
Still won.
Yeah, you were to my right, and I picked 2 Prism cards, and then you hard cut Prism. So I was like, all right, Prism's not open, and I was in Levia then, and then you started picking Levia, and I was like, come on.
So
but thankfully
funny.
you bailed, because I would have been so screwed.
My anecdote about the Arcane Rising draft was that I was just so excited that there were generics that I could stay open so long. I was like, nice, everyone's gonna stay open because we can, right, guys? And then it was like, oh crap, there are no class cards in these packs anymore. Like pick 7 and onward were like all generics basically. And then it was just like Azalea Chaff Isaac hasn't picked, and I was like, I don't know, yellow headshot, it's got to be good enough. It's the only class card left in the pack. We're just gonna go Azalea. I just had so many of the freaking generics, Vigor Rushes and Life for a Lifes and stuff. Still good cards, but you know.
Yeah. I figured it out pretty quick because the guy to my right was Kano. And then after that, it was like Viz or something. But so, Kano was picked pretty quick. I just got handed
Yeah.
like the fire arrows. And after a few picks, it's like, if there was an azalea somewhere, this arrow would be gone. So
totally.
it's pretty
Shout out to Mitch from Team Fab Foundry who 3-0'd that draft pod with his Blazing Lessons Kano deck that he drafted.
Damn.
Only Kano at the table.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
What a dream.
Yeah, it was pretty sick. So Isaac, tell us about Worlds. So neither me or Colin played in Worlds. So tell us what the vibe was, how you felt, and like how the preparation went from our like testing group to get you ready for Worlds.
Sure. Yeah, so I played Dromai in CC and Icelander in Blitz. I did not practice drafting basically at all, except for the 5 times I randomly drafted since the release of Uprising, just because it was like hard to get enough players together at the same time to draft that set and like run it's just that's a lot harder to finagle than like a couple games just with 2 of you. I was pretty confident in I'm like pretty naturally good at drafting. Not that I could like definitely am not one of those people that can 3-0 every pod. But I'm like pretty good at it. So I was feeling okay there. For Dromai, I put quite a lot of work into testing. Well, not like 3 hours a day, like some of the testing teams, but just for a regular person, quite a lot of work into getting Dromai good and getting in a comfortable place there over the past like 2 or 3 months. And I brought a Bolander Icelander deck that's like based on the Brendan Patrick Wolfpack deck that's based on Michael Hamilton's deck. That's
for Blitz.
Pretty, yeah, it's like pretty good into other decks. I found out it's not as great in the mirror, unfortunately. But anyway, so I guess you want to just run through the tournament. Is that what we're doing here?
Let's do. So you did Classic Instructed first. Draft first. How did that first pod go?
Great. I was in a pod with Michael Hamilton actually,
and you beat him.
Spoiler, won the whole thing. No, I did not. No, I played a member of the Polish team round 1, Michael Hamilton round 2, and somebody else round 3. But I drafted Dromai. It was definitely my seat. I would guess there were 2 at the table. So it was a pretty good deck. Taking my only loss to Michael Hamilton on Icelander. His deck was very good. I looked through his graveyard and he has like the red ice binds and then the like, blue Aether Hails and you know what I mean? Like all the just really good value cards. But kind of the most remarkable thing about that matchup is most like very talented people I've played, you're like hoping the other one makes a mistake or, just kind of like trying to optimize your turns and it, you're on a kind of level playing field until like somebody makes a mistake or you draw a very good hand to get the, the upper hand or you get a bit fortunate with a D-react or like one of those occurrences. When, at least for me, as a regular guy, when you play against Michael Hamilton, it feels like he just like outplays you by like 4% efficiency every turn cycle. And then by the end, it's very close, but you lose was kind of my experience. So afterwards, after that game, I was like, whoa, that was weird. I just feel like the dumbest person at the table. So well played by him on a very good deck. But I went 2-1 that draft. And then I went 4-1 on Dromai, which was kind of the highlight of my weekend because I had prepared very well for that, for the CC meta. it's a pretty unfriendly meta to Dromai because of the prevalence of Phi, the most represented deck at the tournament, and like a bad matchup. So just like putting in the work and the practice and going 4-1 at like the highest level event ever was definitely a good feeling and very rewarding. I played 2 Icelanders, a dash, and 2 Phis, losing to a Phi, to actually Jay from On the Bobble. And ended the day 6-2.
Hell yeah. Feeling good.
Yep. Felt pretty psyched about my Dromai performance and like relaxed too, because that was just kind of my goal going into the tournament, was to day 2. I found out anybody can actually day 2. There's no cutoff, but to day 2, like competitively, right?
Yeah.
And then I guess my other goal that I hadn't vocalized though was like to do well with Dromai, because it's like the thing I had invested in. And I had like already achieved both those goals. So I was like feeling very, very good about that. And, then we had some beers and drafted Monarch. It was great.
Totally. Me and Colin that day, we played in the like CC daily double, I think is what we did, which was eye-opening for me. Like my 2 weeks leading up to Worlds, I was just like a little too busy with work to put in, some work to get a few extra percentage points. And it had felt like the meta had shifted just like a little bit, and my deck was like a week behind. And so that was like pretty eye-opening. And I played Ethnic Smoke. Shout out to him. He was super nice in the Icelander mirror. And I got wrecked. And I was like hella nervous. I was like, oh my God, this guy's like so good. We're in the mirror. I've only played this like less than 10 times. He probably has way more stuff. And he was just like smoked the living shit out of me. But he was super respectful and like a really good player, and like respected me a lot by like playing optimally every single turn, even though it was clear he was going to win like 8 turns before he was going to. So just using me as practice, which was fine. And so that was like the first thing. I think I went 2-2 in that event, and was like, oh boy, hopefully we go on a hot streak the next day. So Colin, what was your daily double experience?
I was pretty good. I went 2-2. I also brought Icelander. In the end, I went with Icelander primarily as an excuse to give out promos, since we made frozen tokens. And
yeah,
the easiest way to do that is to freeze something and then give them a token, which was a lot of fun. And I did that multiple times in our in the daily double. I think I lost to, I think it was to 2 Phis. I kind of forget. I played like a Phi, Olivia, who was Reina from, I think, Portland, who was really awesome and, delight to play against and meet. So shout out to Reina. I did get that one. It seems a little unfair. You just kind of mess up Levia's hand and then they die to blood debt eventually, even though they come in pretty strong, and it's a little scary the whole time. It's just like, okay, I hope I don't die before I can just let them off themselves. But that was a fun one. And then, I think overall, I agree. I think one, I didn't put tons of time into Icelander because I was waffling on my deck choice. So I just didn't have the reps. I didn't know what my best lines were and my play patterns into the different matchups. So that was kind of hard. I was just kind of learning on the go. But I had a lot of fun. And like I said, I got to freeze some stuff, which I think my only regret is that we switched out some cards to put in the polar blasts. And I think I should have just kept the encases and freezing points in, because I had more fun freezing things than I did trying to be good with the polar blast. So that's my only regret on the weekend as far as the playing goes.
Nice.
Gotcha.
So then day 2, which is also day 1 of the calling, Is that true? Yeah.
Yeah. Day 2 of Worlds.
Yeah.
Also, I did end up playing Yuki and Scott Howling Mines in addition to
Oh, nice.
Jay and Michael Hamilton, and everybody else I played that day 1. So that was pretty fun. Just like the quality of play from everyone and the kind of being a little starstruck the whole time was like a pretty cool experience.
You're famous too.
Yeah, and I told him that when I sat down.
Hi, I'm Isaac, and I'm famous too.
Yeah. You played Yuki last round? Well, I'm also very famous. Hi.
You're welcome.
Totally. I'll sign this for you. Yeah. I'll sign your playmat, and then
Totally.
just
I brought a
sign it.
Sharpie and I just signed it.
Yeah, just signed it.
You're welcome. Let's get going here.
Love Isaac. Tech Action Podcast.
Yeah, it went over great. We're going to be so famous now. Okay. Anyway, so day 2 was back to Uprising Draft, 3 rounds. And I've done a lot of thinking about this draft, actually. I had a pretty bad experience. I was on a corner seat and drafted Dromai again, which I swear I'm not trying to force Dromai. It's just like was open and is usually open, it seems like.
That's what Michael Fang said, but he just always drafts Phi also.
But I'm in the corner seat, and then the next end of Dromai ends up being the opposite corner seat to me, right? And I don't think that it was Tyler Horsepool. I don't think that he took a couple of Dromai cards early either. So I took 1 or 2 generics, but I picked Dromai cards as they came, and they kept coming, thinking that it was wide open, right? And by late pack 1, I thought about this and I'm not sure. By late pack 1, it was obvious that there was at least one other Dromai, right? But still some Dromai cards in there. And by that time, it's kind of too late to pivot to Icelander, or maybe not Phi, but Phi was definitely not open. At that point, I could have pivoted to Icelander, but I don't know if people cherry picked some of her cards earlier or what, but it wasn't wide open early like Dromai was. So I got in that lane, picked Dromai cards, and then by the end of pack 1, it was a bit less so, but it's kind of too late, And anyway, but I'm still feeling pretty good. I got a bunch of great cards, no problem. Pack 2 comes around, and it turns out the guy 2 seats to my left was in Dromai. So all of a sudden after pack 1, after I thought drafting my seat and, reading things correctly, pack 2 comes around, and then there's 2 Dromais at the table, 2 to my left and 5 to my left. So I get cut hard, and I'm like, fuck. It's a really bad feeling because it's too late to do anything about it. But, I can very much see what's happening. So that was a pretty shitty experience. And I am wondering if I could have really late hard pivoted to Icelander without really having any blues yet, and then been one of 2 Icelanders at the table. But I think somebody pivoted out. Anyway, it was just a weird situation. And it's just that's what made it so bad, was that feeling of this is my seat. I drafted it well. And then come pack 2, you're just hard cut and feel maybe it wasn't the most optimal decision, but you feel you played it really well. And then just getting hard cut out, and it's too late. So yeah. Anyway, that's why I felt it was a really bad draft experience. And I've tried to still sing the praises of the nuances of Uprising and the positives as well as the negatives. But in that moment, I was yep, this is why people don't like this set,
Yeah, it's because you can't pivot.
Yeah, just to push all blame away from my drafting. But
Well, also too, we found out in one of those Road to Nats that the quality of cards in the packs matters so much. You know what I mean? So if all your Icelander cards are yellow, that does absolutely nothing for you. those might as well just be like, I mean, they're better than cracked baubles because they like block and could do something, but
Mhm.
they also just might as well be cracked baubles. You know what I mean? So like if the box has a distribution skewed towards like the wrong cards in blue, then it definitely you can see how Icelander can be like harder to read that it's open,
Definitely. You can use those cards to count the number of class cards left in the pack,
Yeah.
but you can only pick them hoping for good cards to come around later.
Right.
And like I said early, there were a couple Icelander cards missing also. Because if the Icelander player is like, what, 5 away from me, then those early packs, I think a couple cards got picked. And then by the time his signals come around, I know that there's at least one out there. And then it's a little bit late. It's just like a perfect storm of, but that being said, I mean, that's a bunch of excuses. But that being said, there's plenty of really good players who like 3-0'd a bunch of pods and stuff. Like if I had, I think, been a little bit sharper, I could have like maybe made a better decision in that pod or taken a better line or something. But it is what it is. And I did what I did. I ended up going 1 and 2 in that pod. I had to go first against both the Phis I played, and I did get one down to 1 life. It was actually a pretty close game, but anyway, 1 and 2 in my second pod. Not great because I had no confidence in Blitz, but I was thinking, doing well in Constructed and then doing well in Draft would put me in a pretty good position to like, whatever, top 64 or something.
Yeah.
But
did they pair you based on ratings, not on your draft seat?
Yes, which a whole bunch of people were like judge and running up to the table and stuff because you got paired based on your draft table was based on your ratings. So you all had the same, like we were a 6 and 2 table, but you didn't play the corners or whatever, which was really weird.
It's super weird. And I wonder if there's like, I would like to know the reasoning behind that versus the other way of where you should play the person farthest away from you.
It might just like mess up gem. You know what I mean? Because throughout all of every tournament, you play based on your rankings and then it's weighted evenly.
Yeah.
But if you're paired differently, it might not. I don't know.
Well, we have to solve that because that's like really weird then.
Yeah, it was weird to have that experience.
And then Blitz. Go ahead, Colin.
I was gonna say, I heard Zach Bunn talking about that too, and he I don't know if he knew that that's how they were pairing him, but he was like, yeah, I thought I'd be paired against this person, and then I wasn't, and like, I think it's really strange because it seems like draft is designed to be played that way. So then having, this other system kind of override that undermines how draft works because you end up in like weird match. It's like if everyone drafts correctly, it's like I think you like end up in mirrors basically, or it's like you get in like weird spots where it's like, well, I drafted this deck that would be good against people who drafted their seats, and now I'm just playing some rando because our, scores are the same. And just
like
not
you
telling
can play
people
the person
that
you're cutting, or whatever.
Yeah. So it can influence how you pick cards. Yeah.
Yeah. And not telling people, I think, is the key thing. It's like if they should have been like, okay, you'll be playing, this is how it's going to be. So, and then I think that could influence your draft, which is weird and adds like a meta level to things that is not related to like the game, which is weird.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
And I have no idea how to solve that. But if somebody explained to me why it is that way, maybe then I will be more forgiving. I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about Blitz, Isaac.
It is a weird situation. Yeah, just to wrap up my day, I played 5 rounds on Icelander. Shout out to Nate and Jesse who did play some Blitz with me. I was very grateful to have those reps for sure. That was very helpful. I just didn't get to play enough to like really work on a deck or try to like, break the meta or like build this strong character or attack whatever. I was just like played enough to be comfortable in the format on my hero. But I ended up going 2 and 3. I beat an Oldhim and a Kasai, and I lost the Icelander Mirror every time, which kind of sucks. But I just like, I didn't have that many Icelander Mirror reps, and my deck had less, like, their decks had more arcane spells and were better in the mirror for this reason. And I think my opponents had practiced the mirror more often. So I was just like out prepared and outplayed in Blitz. But that's fine. Like I got out of it what I put into it, when I was there, I was like, because leading up to it, I was like, well, if I like day 2 and I'm playing in Blitz, like I'll have already achieved my goal. It'll be fine. I like didn't have time to test Blitz a ton and everything. But then when I was there, I was like, well, shit, I should have tested Blitz more.
Yeah.
But you, like I said, you get in you get out of it what you put in, and that's exactly how it went. I had a pretty disappointing day 2, but I had I'm like happy with my result overall. I finished 90th.
Top 100, baby.
Right. But yeah, it's out of 350 of the best players in the world. So being top 100 and doing well with my character I love is, just great.
Hell
and
yeah.
that was it. So
do you feel like
yeah.
the testing structure we tried out for this particular event was helpful? Like more so that if we had done it in a different way, like we had in the past or something like that, or
yeah, I thought it was really helpful because I got to get, kind of rando reps on Talishar if I could, whenever I could find the time. And then every week I was guaranteed like 2 or 3 of a matchup that I wanted to work on, oftentimes in a row. So that was like, I mean, Talishar is fine for getting used to like your deck and your play patterns, but then you're like, no, I need to play against Phi 3 times in a row just to see how it feels.
Yeah.
So that was really helpful. It's like the more testing hours you could put in, the better, but we didn't all have that much time, like myself included sometimes, didn't have that much time. So yeah, it was actually a really good structure for our competitive commitment. So thanks everyone. The Talishar 10, top 100 at Worlds.
Woo!
Nice.
Woo!
Well, we're super proud of you, Isaac. It's awesome that you did as well as you did, and yeah, you're like my hero.
Nice.
Thanks, Colin.
Because you could just go in there and do these things. I don't think I'd be able to hang whatsoever. And then you keep a good mentality about the whole thing, which is also very hard to do. So,
Thank you. I will admit that, like after day, like it's like you note your goals and you set out and then you do them. And then instantly after day 2, I was like kind of let down or kind of disappointed, not by the overall thing, but that just because day 2 was like a pretty failed day in general of performance, that like all of that across the whole day. And then looking at the thing, you're like, man, I wish I would have done, but
totally.
That's kind of an in the moment feeling. But thanks, Colin.
Well,
thank you.
Next time we'll make sure you go to bed earlier. I'm sorry we kept you up.
No way. I am unwilling to give that shit up. That was the best part,
Hell yeah.
Go to bed.
It was the best part, I thought. Yeah.
Although I did make a misplay against Michael Hamilton where I could have lived through the last turn. And he probably would have killed me later on for sure. Like he was still in a good spot. But I was like, maybe 5 hours of sleep and a few beers was not conducive to that, decision making.
Totally.
But again, he probably would have taken that game down the line anyway. Anyway, nice. Let's hear about the calling.
So the calling was was okay. So I'll just talk about myself personally, and then Colin, you can blast off there. So I went 4-4 day one, so it was 8 rounds, which was pretty brutal, and I did quite a few things uncharacteristic for this tournament, but mainly that was because going into it, I didn't really set any competitive goals. It was mostly just social goals. Like I just wanted to have like a great weekend and get to finally meet some people that I only talk to on the internet, which I did do. And so I won in that respect. But then afterwards, when I went 4-4, I was like, okay, I should have actually focused a bit more on the gameplay of the game, because this is affecting my mental space a bit more than I kind of really wanted it to. And so that was like kind of my big takeaway, is that I probably could have gotten the practice in the last 2 weeks despite being really busy, and just my quality of life for 2 weeks would have kind of sucked for a second. And that, I don't know, feels maybe like for me afterwards like a little bit more worth it if I just go like 6-2 or something like that, because there were definitely 2 of those games I felt I really could have won if I just had a few more like testing sessions and had really understood the meta. Like I played Zane my last week on like the last weekend, because that's just when we had time, and he just showed up with huge shout out to Zane. Goes 0-3 in his draft pod, and then goes 5-0 in CC day one, which is so sick, so baller.
Totally.
And I was talking to him about his deck. He just brought like pummel aggressive Oldhim, and I was like, so why this deck? He's like, well, it's basically just aggro Bravo with Ice React. And I was like, oh, right, that makes sense. Which is Zane's favorite deck. Every meta, like I guarantee talking to him next week, he's going to be like, aggro Bravo could be pretty good now. You know, he says that at the beginning of every meta. So then he's just playing aggro Oldhim, which is what the Oldhims wound up doing. Just like lots of dominate, lots of pummels. And I kind of was like caught off guard because I hadn't had the time to test into that. And so I did lose a game I felt like I should have won against an Oldhim, but I just was like a little bit unpracticed and wish I had still kept my Oasis Respites in there so I could at least like save 5 extra health if I get to play an Oasis Respite, and that would have made the game like last long enough for me to like combo them out, which would have been better. But and then but the other loss I felt like I could have won was against a Briar with no AB, and I kind of just was like a little tilted by not seeing like the right cards, and feeling like he was at a point in the tournament where I was like, I need to win this game to stay alive for day 2, and I just like kind of snowballed into just like playing poorly, and that kind of continued for all of my losses and until the final round. And so I just didn't feel like loose and having fun. Like all of my casual games for the day, or like big shout out to Fab Maniac and Manny, who's like a OG content creator from back in the day from New Zealand. We played a game and he just like rolled me with Fi, which sucked. But then we just played it back and I got to be like looser and like having more fun. And then I just was like destroying him. And if I could have just like felt like that the whole tournament, I would have like, I think performed a little bit better, even though I was like a little bit behind on the tech side of things.
It's a little tough too, because we go very much in and out of like competitive seasons. So just not having the like practice of playing at a big tournament recently, you like go into one of these. And I mean, this is like a stiff calling because all the world's players that dropped are in it, and everybody under the sun's in it, like 650 players. So going into a pretty stiff tournament, be it worlds or the calling, is like, you can get a bit shell shocked, just like
Totally.
You got to play really tight and really well, and everybody's going to.
Yeah.
know?
And I did not approach this tournament like I have others in the past, like making sure my nutrition's on point, going to bed at the right time, etc. And all of those like little things, even if they are like a couple percentage points, like do wind up adding up. Like I was on the weirdest sleep schedule, like sleeping 5 hours, a cup of coffee and an oatmeal in the morning, and then just no food until dinner, which like was fine because it was like there was just too much stimulus in the room and too many people to talk to and bathroom breaks and games to play that I just like never thought about food and never really got hungry until like things started to wind down. And I'd be like, whoa, dinner, I need it now, So like,
My
which
old
was kind of
friend,
sick.
dinner.
Yeah. It's kind of a wild, just like eating basically no food for the whole day. And then just like, I need 2,000 calories now for dinner. It's
Yeah.
kind of how I lived. Then go ahead, Colin.
I would say it didn't help that we were kind of in like a food desert of like this weird area of San Jose. Like there was not a market nearby. Like I think we were all planning to like get food from a market that we could have at the house so we could make breakfast and like, have snacks. And it was just like there was nothing close and our timing just didn't work out. So that made it a little rough. And then the food at the venue was like didn't look great. So that's always hard. I think I definitely was dehydrated on Friday. So I try to drink more water for the calling.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think my calling was fine. I went 3-4-1. Unfortunately, had a draw there, but I'll take it as like almost basically an even record. Like I said, we took out some cards and put in Polar Blast. I think that's the only thing I would have not done, just mostly so I could freeze more things. And that was fun. So I could be like, here's your promo, like, which I still did a couple times, but, and I was giving them out, which was also fun. Started off against a Dromai, just like not like that in 5 was just like not what I wanted to see round 1. And that's what I got. And then I got a lot of 5s throughout the day. And then somebody like didn't drop. Like they were doing something weird where they were auto accepting results. So you couldn't say you wanted to drop or people just weren't dropping. And so I got a no-show, which it's like, if you're going to drop, go drop before the round's done. Like people who want to play. Like, and if you take that from them, that's like a whole hour that I'm just hanging out, like bored and not able to do much because I have to be around. So
yeah, I agree. If you in a tournament, if you're gonna drop, just walk by the table and tell them you're dropping. It's really easy, and like Colin said, it'll save somebody because then there'll only be maybe one buy around instead of like a bunch of buys.
There's a bunch.
It's like
of
really considerate and takes no effort. So anyway, keep going, Colin.
There was several people around me who had no shows, so it's like we would have had games to play. So I was slumming it at the bottom tables, which didn't feel great. But like I said, my goal was to have fun, and I was having fun. Got paired against Levi, our friend Levi, in the house with us, round 4. Unfortunately, he was on Dash and
650 people, and you play someone you're staying with. Well, so crazy.
When you're all at the bottom tables, your chances get better, I think, of running into each other. But I thought he was on Dash, and I thought he would be going more aggressive, and realized like most of the way, like, good way into the game that he was being very, he was just going to be defensive and he was going to block a bunch of arcane barrier. So I pivoted to do, the Frost Hex combo on him. And I think it just took too long, and the end of the round was coming up. Of course, we get like a crowd of people standing around us, which makes things feel awkward. And then we're trying to play faster, and then a judge sits down, and then time is called. And I should have just taken a bit more time at that moment to think about what was going on, and done the math. I thought I had him. I had Ice Eternal. I had the Frost Hexes out. I had, I don't think I had multiple Insidious Chills, but it's like I had enough to like go for something, which I did, but it didn't kill him. And then I was out of cards. So on my turn, all I had was a leftover Ice Eternal in hand, which, like, if we had gone one more turn, I think I would have been able to kill him off the combo
Yeah.
again. But being that I went for it and that he blocked it all, we were in the draw territory, and I should have just. I think if he had boosted on his attack, he could have broken his boots and maybe gone for the kill, but I think I could have blocked it too. So it was just a little unfortunate to get that draw against a homie. I think it took us both out of contention for going into day 2. But yeah, that we both kind of talked about, it was just like, I should have conceded. It was just like, it was a
you
weird
guys
spot.
were also in a weird place. Like you couldn't see the clock from those seats.
Yeah, of
You know
course.
what I
Channel
mean?
Fireball doesn't put up 2 clocks that you can see from the both sides of the massive tournament you're in.
They
No, you
also
get one
didn't.
clock.
Yeah, which is low. So like after 30 minutes, everybody's standing up and milling around, and you can't see the clock anyway because they're standing in front of it. And they didn't like announce the time, like intervals. You know, like 30 minutes left in the round, 15 minutes left. You know, to help with that, which sucked.
Yeah. So that was a bummer. And then just had some like not exciting games. I played kind of a newer player, excuse me, who I almost called the judge for slow play like multiple times, but every time I was about to do it, he'd be like, oh, okay, I'll take 7. And you're just like, all right, well, this game's going to end and I'm going to win, because he just keeps taking like full Findell's Fighting Spirits to the face. And he like didn't really know what was going on. And I wasn't trying to be mean or anything. It was just like, I didn't need another draw, especially against like a newer player. So, ended up getting that one. And then my last game against the guy, Jonathan, who is from the LA area, I think Riverside. So he's from the Top Deck Keep crew, where Tyler Horspool and the now more famous Chris Iali, who got second place,
Hell yeah,
are from. And so that was fun. We had an Icelander mirror, and that one was wild. I hadn't played a lot of those, but it was a lot of like us attacking each other and not slinging spells, because we don't want to charge the Alluvian Constellus. And it was a lot of fun. And I went for it, and then he went for it, and he got me. So it was a good game. I had fun, and I was glad that was the final game of the day for me. But yeah, overall, I think I hit my goal of just having a good time. So I do have weirdly a like re-energized like outlook. Like I want to play more. I want to get more reps in.
yeah.
I'm definitely excited about Mr. Arachne, the assassin hero now. So I'm already just like getting games in more than I did a bunch before Worlds, which is funny that like I waited till after the huge event to be like, all right, let's put in some time and do this.
That's kind of like what a new set does, right? Is like hits you with that like influx of like new stuff to explore. So, makes sense.
And like playing at Worlds, just like I thought I was going to be burnt out, but it just like galvanized me. Like, I was really burnt out on competitive play. I didn't want any more of that. Fuck playing in the battle hard. But
yeah, totally.
After like day 2 of Worlds, all I wanted to do was just go have a beer and tacos with you guys and draft a set, just relax and have fun. So that was actually a pretty cool feeling and realization that I was like, I love this game so much. Like, I don't want to play in a tournament at the moment, but it's just like, not burnt out on the whole thing at all. So
yeah, maybe just competitive events for sure. I would like to note on my day also, I forgot, I won every dice roll, all 8 rounds. Nice. Smoked the dice roll. And I was living like Colin because I froze every single arsenal I played with Cold Snap, and that was my moment to give out the frozen token every single game, which was sick.
That's cool.
So
I just
yeah.
had to like weirdly give my opponent a token. Because I can't freeze anything is Dromite.
yeah, totally.
And then I couldn't I think I gave one person it after we played, but I beat him. So they're like kind of dejected, right?
Yeah.
And then I was like, wait, I should give it out first. But then
Yeah.
it's just like a cold open of like, here you go.
Listen to my podcast. I will be
Yeah.
top 100 in this event. I have
I'm also
relevant.
famous.
Yeah, I'm also famous. Also have this Sharpie to sign your mat. Love Isaac.
All right. I think should we get into these listener questions? We've been chatting for a while. We got quite a few, so
Yeah, definitely. Is there anything else you guys wanted to say before we move into them? Like any takeaways or anything?
That I should know myself better going into a competitive event. You know what I mean? That's what I should know.
That's what we should all do better. Always.
Yeah, totally. That was my takeaway. I'll save my last kind of two memorable stories for the end, at the end after questions, I think.
Cool.
Yeah, I think for me, biggest takeaway was the mental shifts I've been trying to do are working, which is great.
Awesome.
And I am feeling better about just playing in general. I think the only thing I was disappointed in was not introducing myself to more people. I was feeling a bit shy, and then I started feeling a bit under the weather, so I just kind of like lost my moment there. But I'm sure there'll be chances in the future to see some of these folks from around the world. But yeah, it was just a great weekend. So, Isaac, anything
Nice.
from your end?
No, that's like the biggest win, though. I'm glad you're having fun, enjoying it.
Me too.
Hell yeah.
I'll do it. I'm going to jump into these listeners' questions.
You do it. You do it good.
All right, from Big Papa Mike Popovich. Have you noticed an evolution in the Fab community since Vegas a year ago? If so, what has changed?
Go ahead, Isaac.
So this isn't the most positive note, but I did know, because we're at the biggest stage playing for like big accolades and money. There was a bit of sharking or weirdness, you know what I mean, in that sense, just because you're on that stage with all of those players. I'm kind of, as I say this, regretting saying it, because like all of my opponents and the vast majority of opponents in games were like very, very great. You just like go from starting out in the game and it's like, what a great community and everything's great. And then you do see a little bit of that like competitive like toxicity seep in, but it, was hardly present at all. But that's just kind of a little bit of a byproduct of the game just getting huge and very competitive. I guess remarkably, everybody is really wonderful when you play them, even at that level. Like beating people, last round, day one, and they're just like super nice and you're just having a chat, it was really, really great. So anyway, what about you guys?
For me, I have noticed that the community is way more connected now. Like, because we have a bigger presence on Twitter, there's been like a whole year of major events, and like just people have Fab friends now that you get to see at these things, and people are really supportive, and we're starting to get more and more personalities in the game, like outside of just like the commentators and the players. Like I got to kind of awkwardly congratulate little Uzi Squirt on her cosplay victory, 2-time champ, and getting to meet Mara and stuff, who is a wonderful person and was a joy to talk to and hang out with and stuff. So and then they all seem to have like their own crews and stuff. So it just was like, I think that's like the biggest thing in the community, is that we're becoming like more connected and friends and stuff, which is awesome. Because like also for us, Isaac, like because we're in this geographical hinterland between Portland and the Bay Area, we like know the whole Portland crew, or the majority of them, and the NorCal crew. So it's like, there's a lot of people there we just know. So that's how I would answer that. What about you, Colin?
I don't know if it's been like an evolution or just like continued growth in those kinds of directions. In like both of what you guys said, I think I I didn't experience a lot of like toxicity except in the daily double. I played against a Briar who just like huffed and puffed the entire time. He missed his Sonata. Like he was just like, oh, God, oh, this deck, oh, blah, blah, just the entire time. And then he beat me. And it's just like, dude, you made this game so bad and unenjoyable. Like, I'm sorry that your random shit didn't pop off the way you wanted for your like high rolly deck. But like, that's the only downside of your deck. Like, like, give it a break. Like I was just like so annoyed. Like he took that like good time away from me and made it so bad, and like probably pushed me to the point of like not playing as well because I wasn't enjoying it and like losing. So there is some of that. I also heard some rumors of people like not enjoying how some of the world's contestants were kind of acting during the tournament. There was a bit of vagueness related to that, but like, I could see it. Like there is so much money on the line. Like it's gonna get a little competitive and weird. But for my part, I thought it was all pretty great. And like you said, you see, and we talked about it before. It's like these people I recognize and I see at these different events, and I've seen their names online, and being able to chat with them, it was all just been pretty great in that regard. I do hope, I just hope it keeps growing and we can maintain that level of connectedness and supportiveness, because I think that really stands out for our community.
Hell yeah. This is a great summation. Next question.
I got it. I'll do this one. If you had to pick one thing as a single favorite experience at the event, what would it be? This is from Jesse.
Okay, I'll go first, and then Colin, I'll pass it back over to you, and then Isaac, you can send it home, baby. I think for me, so if nobody follows Para9 on the YouTubes, they have a podcast, Del and Vera. They had put together, I saw on their Twitter, a UPF deck with York in it, and the like Welcome to Wraith Heroes with all first edition commons and rares. And they were having people sign all of the cards, so like the whole deck would be eventually signed. And then we actually got to play it at the Guild House on Sunday night. The 5 of us sat down and played it, and that was the most fun, most memorable thing, because it was just so chaos. It was just straight chaos, and it was just so funny. And like you can reprise your Anothos and stupid shit like that, and you can play double Blood Rush Bellows into a Dawnblade Swing, but it doesn't pump Dawnblade. It just intimidated 2 cards, and that's it. So it was just like wild and was really fun. And I think we just all laughed and had a great time. And I think that was kind of a singular experience for me. And I didn't really know the Para9 crew very much just on Twitter. And so I feel like we're friends now.
Nice.
Yeah. Colin?
It's gonna be night number 2, I guess Friday night at the 5 spot with the homies, eating tacos, drinking micheladas, and just feeling great. Isaac did great, saying had struggled a little more in the world, but did great in his CC side of it. So we just there being with my friends and having a great time was really great. I would have said when Haydendale and the New Zealand crew joined us the next night, but there was kind of a weird awkward divide in the middle of like our crew and theirs, and it was hard to hear everybody. So that one was a bit more awkward, and I was starting to not feel great. So it was also like a little weirdness there, but they seemed like great guys. I had fun being around them, but I didn't get to interact with them as much. And they they just talk about Fab. Like they don't stop.
Yeah, it was so fun. It was like Hayden and Jason Long and Gabe, and I feel like I'm missing some people. Oh yeah, New Zealand Isaac. New Zealand Isaac is freaking hilarious. I was like peeing my pants. He was so funny the whole night. Had such a great time. Yeah,
couldn't hear them. Their accents were too strong at the distance for me to really understand what they were saying. But I did get to meet Prism Mike, who used to be on the Wolfpack, I think, and didn't realize it was Prism Mike at the time, but he was very nice. We're talking about Kano a bunch, so that was fun.
Hell yeah.
Our night was the better night, though. That's what I'm trying to say.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Isaac?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that last night of like, I didn't play in UPF, but watching it or drafting was really fun. It's hard to pick a favorite moment in the tournament.
You were an integral part of that whole night, though, because you just subbed in for everybody while they went go pee or get more drinks or whatever.
I did.
And had to make some tough decisions.
It's hard to know a favorite. Beating a Phi in World CC with Dromai was pretty great just because of my proficiency on the deck, and they didn't super high roll me. So having that work kind of pay off there and squeaking that one out was pretty rewarding. But I had a moment playing against Yuki that was like really, really heartening, because we were just talking about like sharking and like the competitive nature of the game, and now asked about this. But playing against Yuki, I attacked, hit her with an arcane damage, and she like tried to block it, and I was like, oh wait, you don't have any arcane barrier. And this had happened probably for a couple turns. She had blocked arcane while not having arcane barrier. And this was going to bring her down to 2. And, we were like, oh, I don't know what to do. Or like, I think a judge came over, but she was like, I'll just take one from last turn, just to like, cause I blocked it last turn. We don't know how many turns it was. Take one from last turn. And, and I was like, yeah, sure. That's fine. But then I was like, well, shit. All right. So I have another burn them all in my hand. So if next turn I can play it and then attack with 1 dragon through her taxes, I can win the game, right? Because she'll be at 2. So I'm like, shit, okay. Hold on. Is this really, you really think that's fair? You want to take one? Because I have another burn them all in my hand. So I'm not trying to like shark you or like be like, this should be your punishment for missing the triggers, like get within range so I can lethal you, So I showed her that, and she was like, no, yeah, that's fine. That's totally fair. And like stuck with their guns, stuck with their decision, and went there. And I ended up being able to pay through and kill her with that. But that's like a really, I don't know, clear situation where you could be, you could like argue that they're all missed triggers, or like you shouldn't take any damage, or, change your mind because you're going to be presented with lethal, or like any of these things. Right. And so it was like, I mean, Yuki's just like a wonderful competitor and a wonderful person. She's like definitely a very honorable player, but just that interaction at that, like the highest level when all those games matter, and just having like honorable play win out, of course, was like a very nice interaction to have. I hope I explained that well enough, but
I believe you did.
okay.
Yep. All right. A little sub question. When's the next Attack Action Podcast in person get together going to be? Who knows? Is the short answer.
We
Yeah,
don't
In
know.
the
totally.
future.
Yep.
We'll see what next year looks like, but it won't be the last time. So we'll hopefully get to see all of y'all again. All right, Taylor, you want to take the next one?
Oh, yeah. So Thor Mike asks, did Hayden deliver the group hug?
I don't think so because we saw him separately initially,
Yeah.
but Zane and I sandwiched Taylor one time.
That was great.
That was
I
a pretty good group
also,
hug.
at the end of Sunday, hugged both Brendan and Hayden at the same time before I left. So kind of a group hug there. Not gonna lie, both of them copped a little bit of a feel. Brendan got a little bit of my junk in the trunk. Hayden got some of these upstairs memories. I don't know. Are those the grossest terms you can think of? Maybe not. And it was great. Wouldn't complain.
I almost got a fist bump from Hayden, but Taylor took it from me.
I feel so bad about this interaction. So I'm sorry.
I'm not going to let it die.
I was socially just blacking out, I didn't even know it was happening.
Just stealing every high five I can get. on my way
Yeah, it's the
out.
margaritas. I don't know.
There's a high five. It must be for me. So next time, Hayden, we'll get a real fist bump. But no, it was lovely to meet him in person.
So a different Hayden asks, also from Australia though,
Yeah.
how far might we go for the next one? Meaning Worlds, I assume. And also, how did the Frozen tokens go? Did we run out?
I don't know how. Sorry if I'm stealing the order of this. We're just going for it. I'm unsure how far we would go for the next one. The farthest I would go would be New Zealand if there was like a dope event. I would do it. I would go to New Zealand for that. And then the Frozen tokens they did great. Everybody was like, wow, so cool. And we did not run out. So we have more Patreons. They're coming.
Yeah.
So don't you worry. Yeah.
I agree. I think New Zealand would be dope. I would go. I don't know. We'll have to see where the next one is. I don't know if I can like swing a huge trip for Fab every year, but every couple years. And if I could tack on like, I feel like if we go to New Zealand, we could probably go to the Philippines and see like Jess's family. So like, it's like if we're over there, we might as well be over there, and do some stuff. And I've never been to New Zealand, so that would be sick.
Yeah, nice. I know my wife really wants to go to New Zealand because of the dope fungi that's over there.
Got mushrooms over there, baby.
Yeah.
I mean, I would also. New Zealand's a really cool country to visit in general, which would be really appealing, but I don't think it'll be there next time. My answer is, well, I would have to qualify, right? Which means I need to finagle a PTI somehow and have a group of players I want to travel and stay with qualify also. Hopefully you guys. And I mean, I would probably go anywhere in that respect. But if I was not qualified, I will not be traveling to, Germany or Hong Kong, I assume, somewhere in that ballpark, just for the calling. I would love to, but as far as vacations go, there's a lot to do in the world. And if I was going for it, I'd want to be playing in it, I think.
Nice.
That's fair. Yeah.
On to the next question.
Excellent.
What cards do you guys think will be overrated in Dynasty? How about underrated?
And this is from Ronnie. Shout out to Ronnie.
Oh, yeah. On Twitter.
Totally. Yep. So good. For me, I don't know yet. It's just hard to not have them in my hand or have played with them and that sort of thing. So I don't really have any takes. Get back to me next episode. I'll be answering that question. Colin.
I really hope all the warrior cards are overrated because I really don't want a warrior meta to come back. These things look annoying and scary. And just like, I don't need to play more Dory. I don't like it. So there's that. I also hope the reinforced steel is also overrated and is a pain, but I feel like it's not. I think Guardian's going to be a big wall to get over. And let's see, underrated. I don't know what's going to be underrated. I think there's a lot of cool things. So, I do think there's going to be some cool. I think that Crouching Tiger situation might be underrated. It seems like a bit weird right now, but I think it might be cool. Which is
nice.
I don't know, and then I don't know. I get there's too much shit, man. Like,
all right, I'm gonna take over.
Go through all the cards, please, Isaac. You go.
So overrated. I picked Crouching Tiger, and Looming Doom. I think the Crouching Tigers are really cool, but just paired with the one pump card or Art of War, or being able to like Katsu fetch with them, I don't think is like quite enough to have consistent power level in that deck. I could be totally wrong, and it could be a broken combo, but just at face value, I picked that. And Looming Doom, I think, will be overrated. I think it's a very cool like OTK style kill card, and I actually hope that it's good to enable like a different archetype. But to me, as it stands, it's a little bit too cute. Like build all the room chants and then like over a whole bunch of turns deal 2 per turn in addition to what you're doing. I hope I'm wrong though. Both those cards are really cool.
Nice.
For underrated, I picked Beaten Trackers, especially in Blitz, but also maybe in like the hyper aggro matchups, because as Rhinar, like, you know, as Levia with Hooves, oftentimes you're only trying to get like one extra action point once per game off Scab Skins. And running Beaten Trackers, you can also free up a glove slot, you know, for whatever you want in there. So that like has quite a lot of value, I think, but especially in Blitz, I think it'll be a quite powerful card to have an on-demand action point. And finally, I think that Royal is underrated. I'm not sure if if people underrate that card, but just starting with a gold token in play for the hand filter, for the Ash generation in my case, and then access to those 3 cards just as like a sideboard option to be Royal. I think it's actually pretty powerful for only giving up like the Crown right now is 2 block and a hand filter, which is also powerful. But I think that in certain matchups or certain cases, that'll be a very powerful splash ability. Those are my hot picks. I actually have no idea, but that's them.
Sweet.
All right. I think we covered Yuki's question of our biggest highlight over the weekend. But if there's anything else you guys want to tack on there, otherwise, Hayden Dale wants to know, how many tacos did you consume over the weekend? This is the real important question.
8. I was only there 2 nights though.
I had 10.
Nice.
I think I had 11 over 3 days.
Yeah. 10 in two sittings. I think I could have easily gone to like, you know, I don't know, 12 or 14. Those tacos were so good.
We hadn't eaten all day. So then you're so hungry. You can just shove tacos in there and kind of race your full signal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it takes your body a while to send that signal. So you could just like shove tacos in it because you're so hungry.
Yeah.
We got some pho on Friday.
Dude, that was
dope. I went home, took a nap and a shower, and then went out and got more tacos.
Yeah, that was actually a hella dope day. We like walked way too far to this pho place, and we thought it was in this like convenience store. We were like, oh yeah, if it's like in a convenience store, like it's gonna be like really good. You know what I mean? But it was actually the building like like right around the corner, which was really funny. And we were like the only people in there, and they just were looping the most calming music. And it was like really quiet, and it was just us. It was me, Colin, and Mitch, and we had super delicious pho, and it just had this calming music, and then we're full of like warm liquid, and we were just, all three of us were pretty sleepy. It was great.
It was great. And then we got more tacos. I was like, oh yeah, I could eat some more tacos.
Yeah, totally. And then I went and had 5 tacos like 3 hours later. It was great.
Tried to get the New Zealand crew onto the tripa taco tip, but only one of them joined us, and he was correct because the tripa tacos were dope.
Yeah.
And then his follow-up question, what did you think of the meta, and did you think Blitz ended up coming off well as a format choice? So we'll give that to Isaac.
This is a good question, Hayden. I think from LSS's perspective, it probably did, because it presented a different format with a different metagame, albeit also with Icelander and Oldhim, right? But there's like Prism is pretty prevalent and Rhinar is pretty prevalent. So having like a different set of interactions and stuff was probably really good advertising for them in terms of casting. From the player side of it, I had a lot of people still have the same sentiment, kind of like, it's not like after it happened, everybody walked away and was like, oh, they were right. It was great having Blitz in there too. You know, it was totally awesome. Actually, it was totally fine. It was like most people were like, you know, still not into having Blitz there, or at least that I talked to at a small sample size. But, and, you know, I still feel that way, just that, just to echo something I think Zach Bunn said, but you know, like having draft is a little, or 5 games can be a little high rolly, right? But at least drafting is like a different skill set and a kind of a different game that tests the different abilities. To me, playing Blitz just tests kind of the same abilities as CC, but you just like die if you get high rolled instead of are behind. Right? There's just more variance because there's less turns, to me, in the same skill set. So I don't know. That just kind of like feels bad, in my opinion. But
my pushback on that just a little bit, just to be devil's advocate. Excuse me. I think the skill you're testing in Blitz is kind of your deck building ability, and that in conjunction with like how well you can metagame the event, right? Like I had completely forgotten about Prism. Also, I didn't have to think about it because I wasn't playing Blitz, but the prevalence of Prism was like a freaking great call. You know what I mean? Like to know what the kind of most prominent decks were going to be, and then to bring Prism and then for it to like turn out very well was like a good idea. So I think that's kind of maybe the more of the skill in this try format that's happening. But you know, just have a different opinion.
I mean, I totally thought of Prism. I think a lot of people do, because Prism was floating around before this event happened. I just have barely played Prism and don't have any of the cards, so I was like not going down that path, as it's like a fairly skilled deck, especially into aggro. But I do hear what you're saying, and all that stuff definitely like matters and weighs in there for sure. But I would argue that those things also weigh into a CC game as well, in pretty similar ways. Anyway, you know, that's just my take on it and how I feel about it. I am biased because I do like a longer, more strategic game with a lot of decision points. And, you know, it's pretty like Hayden asked this question and he got turn 1, I think barraging Alpha Rampage Massacred and started the game at like, 6-20 or whatever, and one of his win and ins, which is part of Blitz for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't think
And
that's why he was asking this question, but that's the other side of it, right? Like, yeah, you're testing deck building and you're testing like, meta calls and stuff, but you can also get super alpha rampaged turn 0,
Yeah, totally. It's also like the reason you run that deck is for that purpose, is for to run Rhinar, is to do that. But for me, my little 2 cents about it, I think Blitz is just fine, and I enjoy that I would have enjoyed to play in a tri format, and I think it's cool that Worlds is tri format, and that we now know that. And so, if that's going to be the regular, then people will pay attention, to be the world champ.
Yeah. I should clarify. I do think Blitz is a good format. I think it's in a very healthy place, and I think they did well it being a good format. 100%. Not trying to say it's like bad or anything like that at all. I guess my like last little counter is that and playing in Blitz was really enjoyable. Playing like Icelander versus Kasai and stuff like that, like new problems. It's just the question of measuring the best player in the world, which is Michael Hamilton with or without Blitz, no doubt. I'm not saying it like, fuck things up or anything, but just when like measuring the skill of the best players in the world, I would just argue that CC is a bit better at doing that than Blitz is. But
I'm just going to say they should let us plebes play in multi-format tournaments.
Yeah.
Why is it just Pro Tour and Nationals? Like, let's have a multi-format calling. Let's go. I want to have
it kind of seems like it will be going forward, maybe.
Yeah. I hope they do another team Blitz event near us so we can go. That's what I want to play in.
That'd also be fun.
Yeah.
All right. Last question from fellow friend content creators, Paranine. Should people play UPF? And since you all play UPF,
yes, I think they should. If somebody has like a curated cube of UPF York deck situation, that seems like the best, because then I don't have to like, the barrier to entry to that format is really low, and in that regard, and you can make it like a cube style, more fun situation. That's what made that memorable. But the other like UPF games I've played have been so. That's my answer.
Yeah, I think it's important in the absence of PvE or any kind of multiplayer format at all. And especially since Blitz is so fast. I think that, UPF does have a healthy spot in the game for sure. And anybody looking for like a casual outlet for something to do like after a tournament or whatever, it's has a nice role there.
For sure.
Sounds fun. We just need to like bring an extra deck and like get people to play, which I think is generally the problem. But I'm down. Why not?
Nice.
Silver Palms. Let's go.
Woo! So signature segments this week. We're just going to do a board game from the closet. Colin has something he wants to share with us, and we're taking a break on Pick, Pass, Pray. So Isaac, set us up, bro.
Here at the Attack Action Podcast, we like to play many board games, not just Flesh and Blood. And sometimes we like to share a board game with you, our listeners, in the hope that you will enjoy that at home. So this episode's board game from the closet is Colin's board game.
Dude, I told you all this was going to become my segment. And it is. So this week, it's Galaxy Trucker by, oh God, what's his name? Oh, I'll remember it while I'm talking about it. He's a Czech designer. He's great. Galaxy Trucker is a game about building a shitty spaceship and then having that spaceship fall apart while you move around the galaxy. It is basically 2 parts. One, you build your ship in kind of this real time thing. You have a big pile of square tiles that have to connect in specific ways. And then one at a time, you have to grab it, and then you can't flip it over until it's over your board. So it's like you can't, just start flipping them over in the middle. You have to like grab one at a time, and then you place it or put it back. And you're trying to like have energy and engines and lasers and shields and crew, and you have to like have cargo room for all the cargo you're going to pick up. And then you do all that, which is really fun, little real-time game. And then you just start going around the galaxy, and a bunch of random things happen, and your ship starts falling apart, and then it gets hit by one thing in the one spot, and like the entire left half just dies with everybody in it, and you lose everything. And it's super fun. It's a great game. My wife really enjoys this game, mostly because she likes to put together all the little the ship part of it. We don't play that part super real time because I let her enjoy that because she loves it. And then you just go through it and the stupid things happen, and you can sit there and laugh while your ridiculous spaceship kind of falls apart. So yes, Vlada Schwadl, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of. He did Codenames. He's an amazing designer.
Yep. Yeah.
And just this is a really great one. I think they just released a new edition, which looked really nice. So highly recommend Galaxy Trucker.
Nice.
Yeah, I've gotten to play Galaxy Trucker a few times, and it's super fun. It's a great casual game that's silly. It's great.
It's a game where you like can be really invested in building the ship and then immediately just have to like destroy it, which is very funny.
Yeah, totally.
And yeah, that's it.
Great board game, Colin.
Thank you.
Well, that is going to do it for us. It's kind of a honker of an episode, but a lot to talk about. It was a big weekend, and if we forgot anything or whatever, just let us know, and I'd be happy to tell more stories. Simon from Push the Point tracked me down and was like, I feel like I should say hi because we're Mo Bros, because we both have mustaches. And that was really fun. And he's a great guy. What a very nice human being. So
I'm sad I didn't chat with Simon in real life. We've chatted on the internet. So shout out to Simon.
Hell yeah. And Push the Point.
Guy. And Hamish. Hamish was lovely to meet. He's a very funny guy.
Yeah, he was hilarious. He was a great dude. So anyway, that's our show. You know what to do to support us at this point, I hope. And if not, we'll talk about it more in our next episode later this month in November. We look forward to diving deep into Dynasty.
Yep. Also, nobody's listening at this point. I guarantee not a single person hears this part. But I will be making a Dromide deck tech, or we will be making a Dromide deck tech on the deck I brought coming up here soon on our YouTube channel. So for anybody that happens to still be listening, there you go.
Oh, yeah. I also forgot to mention, if you're in the Discord on the Patreon, be sure to use the podcast discussion channel to talk about anything related to what we said on this podcast.
Nice.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Goodbye.
Adios.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at the Attack Action Podcast. On Twitter, we are at BattleBroTaylor and at BattleBroIsaac. Shoot us an email, theattackactionpodcast@gmail.com.
If you would like to support us, like and subscribe, shop for singles using our affiliate link, or support our Patreon for as little as $4 per month.